Mark Scott from Cello is with me in the studio this afternoon. Mark, good to see you. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, we spoke briefly at the time last week when you had your interims up, but now that you're in the studio, a chance to chat in a bit more detail. The primary focus of the group, the healthcare market. Cello Health still continuing to perform.
Yeah, Cello Health had a good first half, growing.
Yeah.
Sort of free with currency wins, 14%, without currency 9-10%. So good rate of growth. Add a lot of good capability to it, and generally the healthcare market is pretty buoyant. So.
And adding capability in the form of 2 acquisitions in the US?
Yeah, plus organically actually. So we've added maybe 45, 50 people across the group with quite a focus on the States. And yes, we've acquired 2 businesses in the US. So the US business is approaching half the company now, which is a key goal. So.
A key goal indeed. I know Cello Health's primarily been focused on big pharma, but these latest 2 acquisitions, Defiant Health, Advantage Health, they sort of take you off the beaten track somewhat, don't they?
They do. Well, biotech and smaller molecule therapies are now about 20% of the market overall, I think, and higher growth. Well, there's lots of smaller companies out there because regulation's been skewed in its favour in the States. So we really had a very little franchise in that space until about a year and a half ago. And now, roughly speaking, it's about approaching 15% of our revenues. So it's approaching the appropriate weighting in the mix to reflect the marketplace, and it's very vibrant. So it's quite exciting for everyone involved in it.
Certainly.
So, and also big farmers having to diversify and originate more opportunities, typically smaller molecule opportunities as well, rather than blockbusters. Mm-hmm. So the whole market is sort of heading in that direction.
You said at the time you were in the process of working up your plans for 2018. Where the US is concerned, what might those plans involve? Yeah,
we do a budgeting in September, October, so we're commencing now, looking at next year. And the goal is basically to have Cello Health weighted in line with the market, which would be about 70% US. And that'll be a mixture of organic growth, some acquisition, but also people in the UK are working quite a lot on global, including US business. Mm-hmm. So, I think we'll get to that weighting fairly quickly. And it just puts us in a better position relative to the competition. And we tend to be US, by the way. Most of the rivals are US companies.
Certainly. In terms of other potential acquisitions, what would you like to see brought into the group? Is there anything particularly lacking at the moment?
Well, yeah, we've got a few sort of gaps in the skill sets, but also it's geographical coverage. So we're focusing on the Boston area and the East Coast, and things with a more advisory and potentially biotech flavour. Boston's the big centre of US biotech, so it's we certainly trade there and have quite a bit of business there, but we're not sufficiently weightily present enough, so that's the big priority. But we do continue to add sort of resource in the UK, servicing international work. Although obviously we're all cautious about the UK now, but
just a little. You raised, what was it, just over £14 million earlier this year. We still got half of that left, or thereabouts. Yep. So you've got plenty of firepower should you spot something you like.
Yeah. We're not doing huge, great home run type deals. They're just things which fit into Cello Health quite well. So yeah, we've got capacity to do 1 or 2 without gearing up, which is what we're going to avoid.
And speaking of your continued push and presence in the US, where Cello Signal's concerned, Pulsar, that's slowly been integrated
so now, I'm trying to think, 3.5, 4 years old.
Into the landscape.
And it's doing well. It's prospectively maybe about 9 million of turnover this year. And we launched it in the States in January, February, and it's gone off pretty well. It's an investment phase, so we're going to incur a loss there for 1.5 years or so before it comes into profit. But it's obviously the primary market for these social analytics products. And we're a credible player, so we've got to be there. So we're making an investment.
Just remind us what it offers.
So basically, it enables a big corporate client to interrogate whatever they want, really, in a social media context. So it could be highly specific, to do with competitive, positioning around certain issues, or it could be quite nebulous in general about reputational issues, or it could be around an event, such as an ad campaign or an action or activity. So pretty much it could cover anything, frankly, but the sample sizes, well, their basic samples are enormous. So, and it's done in real time, so it's quite compelling.
I know you can't say too much, but it's already attracted some well-known attention.
Well, the market is gradually evolving. So all these tools are fundamentally fueled off Twitter data and other similar platforms like LinkedIn. And now Facebook has gradually come into the fray in terms of being interested in that market, principally to enable its advertisers and etc. to make better use of their activity on that platform. So, and we're part of that mix. So we have a relationship with Facebook which is fruitful to us, and hopefully will evolve very positively.
Just circling back to the numbers for a moment for the interims, I know you had that one-off contract in H1 2016. So on a comparative metric, it appears for Cello Signal, H1 2017 not doing as well, but still broadly the business is doing quite nicely.
The group is virtually entirely dominated by Cello Health. We're essentially a health group entirely now. So Signal is there in support and actually doing pretty well. I mean, it's had what it looks like a tougher H1 because the comparative really is really difficult. They had it in this spectacular H1 last year. But broadly speaking, it's a slow growth area. Digital activation work for big corporates, very competitive, but they're holding their own and their full year margin should be pretty respectable. They'll make sort of 4 million plus of profit, I think, and also they're beginning to support Cello Health with digital activation capability.
And that was the main focus?
Well, increasingly it's going to be a key strategic focus for us, and so there's a huge opportunity within the digital sphere within pharma and biotech because they're all having to engage with digital media pretty aggressively now, even ones that don't really sell to end audiences. They're having to distribute materials through digital media and things, and we've got full capacity and capability to do that from the Signal side, but we don't really sell it into the pharma and biotech market. Right. But we are now beginning to do that, and we're winning clients quite rapidly actually. So, it's a big opportunity for the group. Well, it's the big opportunity organically is to do that. So essentially, it's UK-based digital and programming resource, which will be deployed on global activity and opportunities, which is good for everybody. It's good for the people involved internally as well.
Indeed. And as the share price continues to grow, you feel it prudent to see relative increases in the dividend as well?
Yeah, we've made a long-term commitment to grow the dividend actually, so rather than it being a reflection of share price particularly, it's just a reflection of the earnings growth of the business in fact. But we're quite cognizant of yield and maintaining competitiveness. So I think we're slightly sub 3% now. It must be somewhat slightly lower than 3%, but quite respectable relative to other similar businesses. I don't know how many. I think there are only about 200 dividend-paying stocks on AIM, so it's not a huge group. No. And we're keen that we keep ourselves in that company. And also a lot of the shares are held inside, so everyone wants a dividend. So you've got to, and we're not capital constrained particularly, so we have capacity to do what we need organically with other cash flow. So.
Which is a final thought, I suppose. You've hit your main goals for this year. You're in the process of looking to 2018, but let's not forget there's still H2. Yeah. You're not taking your eyes off H2 by any means.
No, but I mean at this stage you sort of know what's going to happen because you've got enough visibility. No, there's always a chance, you're right, for things to change, and for what appears to be visible, not to be visible suddenly. But we're fairly cautious, and our client base is very diverse, so we don't have eggs in concentrated baskets basically, and typically actually the tail end of the year is extremely active, and leaves us with we spill a lot of work over into the following year, so a lot of the work for the first quarter of 2018 will be generated now, and a lot of projects and activities we're working on will spill over the year end, so we're usually in pretty good shape. And it's not a hair-raising ride. In other words, it's a planned ride basically, because really what we're doing now is setting up the first half for next year and working out what we want precisely to focus on and where resource is going to be focused and what our priorities are. Because it's quite a big group now, so there's a lot of different demands on resource, so we've got to prioritise it. So
very good. Nice to see you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.